Well, I'm here with Jen Mason, who's the editor of Cloth Paper Scissors magazine, and she has a great little mini album that she's gonna make with us, yeah?
Yeah.
So let's take a peek at it. It's super cute and just fits in your pocket. It's so tiny.
Exactly. Well, you know, I love the little tiny composition books, but I wanted something that I could sketch and watercolor in and fit in my pocket or just fit in my purse. So I came up with this idea so that I can travel with my sketchbook.
Cool. So how do we start?
Okay, so great green craft. You're starting with a cereal box.
Upcycling.
Exactly. And each cereal box, depending on the size, can get you 4 to 6 covers. So we cut these out and then we're going to paint them. And I'm not too concerned about some of the background showing here because it just adds a little texture. It's hidden enough so you don't know what it is, but textural enough that you get a little
finger painting.
Exactly. So you're going to cover this whole thing.
And you are using an acrylic paint, though.
I'm using an acrylic paint, a heavy-bodied, like a thinner acrylic wouldn't work. You could use a craft paint tube, and you would go ahead and color that whole thing.
Okay. And when you're painting with your fingers, if you really wanted, you could wear gloves or something if you're worried about it.
And you could definitely use a paintbrush. I just like
sometimes it's easier. These are great tools.
Exactly,
you know?
yeah, and it's easy to clean up. I can see exactly where I'm getting it. Okay, so now we're done with that. We can set that aside.
I'll take that out of the way.
All right. And then what we need to do is actually decorate our cover. So I have a piece here, and I like I said, like to make it look like a composition book. So I've already started coloring the spine of our book here. And I'm
Did you use acrylic paint again?
I actually used some paint pens. So I used this guy here, and I'm going to actually add another coat. That's why I sort of pre-did this, because if I let it dry, then I get an even more opaque coverage on there. Exactly. And I'm using all sorts of pens here. I'm using just
That's a skinny paint marker,
exactly.
I see.
So I'm using this for my flower, and I'm not, you know, too terribly worried about my doodling here. I'm going to use some of these raised gel pens that add little bumps. And I'm going to, and these dry slightly darker, but that's going to add a nice little texture to the center of my flower. I can also add some little polka dots. Again, it's funny, these will dry. They will dry
much more opaque and chalky, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So it's always a little deceiving. So I like to have a little test paper where I always
like the dimension on it, because then you really feel like not only visually is there texture, but actually there's texture.
Yeah. Any way I can add texture makes me happy. It doesn't matter if I'm doing it with bubble wrap or pens or raised gel pens. So I'm going to add some doodles here. And you can even see, so down here on the piece, I actually even layered the texture just to give it a little more dimension. I'm going to turn this so I can actually write, because I'm not capable of writing upside down yet. I'm working on that. So we have travel journal. And then when that dries, I can go back over it with another pen.
Okay, cool.
And when I'm all done, I always like to add a little black. It's sort of the mascara to my piece.
Yeah, I always find that black adds that nice contrast so that you see everything else much better.
Exactly. It's just sort of the finishing. So I would go back around here. I would add, you could add little stitches. I can go back and add some more detail. And that's our cover.
Okay.
Now what we need to do is work on our watercolor paper.
Let's do it.
And you can use whatever kind of watercolor paper you want. There's different finishes.
So cold press, hot press, it doesn't matter.
Use what you like to use.
Is there a weight issue?
There's not really. Well, I wouldn't use the super heavy ones.
Okay.
So I would use 140 or less. It's really what you like to work on. And what I love on this is that it has a deckled edge all the way around. So watercolor paper, when it comes in a big sheet. And it comes with a deckled edge on one side. So what I like to do, I've marked this at our measurements here. And what I'm going to do is just hold a metal ruler. It works the best. And then I'm just...
And the measurement that you use, by the way, is just something that will fit in the cover. It's not like there's a rule on how big it has to be.
Exactly. All of these you can adjust. So if you want to make a large size journal, you can definitely do that. You're sort of limited by the size of the giant piece of watercolor paper, but that's about it. And now if I hold this metal ruler down really tight, and I'm holding it down at the top, and then I'll move my hand down, when I tear against this, I get that really great deckled edge. So it looks uniform, and I can slide it down.
Because you've got a measurement at the bottom too, so that way.
Yes. I cheated ahead of time and put little marks on there.
Yeah.
So then we have our piece. So that's all great, but now we need to score it so that it bends and folds nicely.
Okay.
So I'm going to give that to you.
Thank you.
So we have our piece here. And we are going to score it, and we're going to use a bone folder to score it.
And of course, it's important to score, especially heavy paper like watercolor paper, so it doesn't crack.
Exactly. You don't want it to crack. You don't want your pages to fall out of your book after you've added all those things. So we're going to go ahead and score. To score it, you make your marks where you want to fold your book.
And again, the rule on this is just so that it fits in whatever the size the cover is.
Exactly. So I think this piece is about 13 3/4. But if you wanted more pages, you would just extend it and decide how big you want your pages and keep multiplying those pages. I like to use a bone folder to score. You could also use a dry embossing tool, but I always have this. This is like in my back pocket. If I had a tool belt, it would be in my tool belt.
It's always the bookbinder's favorite tool.
Exactly. So when you're finished scoring and folding, what you want is sort of your little book and then your accordion fold
that comes right out of
there. Exactly. And so I would use my bone folder to
flatten that out and really get those creases nice and strong.
So it all fits in there. Now I have my cover here, and I've already scored. Actually, I used my bone folder. I've marked the halfway point and scored this, so now I can fold this.
Okay. And that cardboard folds really easily because, again, once you've scored something, it just makes it easy.
So this is super easy. You're just going to stick that opening fold part, and you're going to make 3 holes, and you're not going to poke yourself, which is very important.
Oh, I thought you were just going to glue it in there.
No, you could actually glue it in there. That would be a really simple way. If you don't have, we're using a waxed linen thread, about 12 inches, and if you don't have that, just glue, I would glue probably this back page in there.
And you know, I don't have an awl, I have to admit, so I sometimes just use a nail and stick it through.
A nail is perfect. A nice finishing nail, that is a great thing. And you could also...
oh, you're not using a needle, you're just using your fingers to stick it through.
Yeah, so the great thing, the reason why I love wax linen thread is that it will hold its shape. I can make it point.
Right,
and I'm
just, that wax.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm just sort of doing a figure 8 through these 3 holes.
Okay. And of course, all the instructions will be on our website.
Exactly. And so I would loop that back through. And when we're finished, it ties up
into a pretty little bow.
Right there.
And you could put beads on it or anything if you want to decorate the outside.
And if you didn't want the bow on the outside, you could always tie it on the inside. And then we have a finished one with some extra journaling done inside.
Oh, that's beautiful. Let's look at the inside of this. We're just going to bring it up right here so we can look at it. And I see here that you've done a postage stamp, and you drew that?
Yes, I drew it. I like to use just a black waterproof pen so that I can use my travel watercolors. It's really easy.
That's such a cute set that you can use and put it in your purse, right?
Yes,
to take it with you.
Exactly.
Jen, this has been so fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.